All right, so let's talk about what the Vegas lawyers are doing. I've got a cold case coming up here. So live here at Las Vegas, Red Chimp Studios, let's talk about cold cases. Lawyer up. What is a cold case? It's a case, of course, that occurs when the temperature is like below 40 degrees, 35 degrees. You see your breath, your hands are cold, you try to kill somebody. That's not a cold case. Anyway, a cold case, I'm starting a jury trial the first week of November. It's an old case, about 12 years old now, based on DNA evidence that has come up. Cold cases are big in popularity. They're all over TV. You see them on TV shows, CSI, Law and Order, all kinds of shows. They talk about cold cases. And believe me, they're really happening. What happened a few years ago, it was one of the campaign issues talking about rape kit test. And the rape kits had not been reanalyzed. Well, with the progression of DNA testing, what used to not be able to be determined as a sufficient sample for DNA has now gotten better. Also, what's happened is time's gone on, and those people that have committed that original crime that was unsolved have now been arrested on charges, and they get a match. They get a hit. It's called a DNA hit. And that's what's happened on my client. He has a case in which he is serving time on another charge. When a person gets put on probation for felony or gross misdemeanor, the old DNA swab comes out, and that way you can be in the data bank, just further away that Big Brother's watching you. Everybody's familiar with, in this latest generation, is Tupac, sitting with Suge Knight, who actually is in prison now for running somebody over, but that's another story. He gets shot down on Flamingo in the Strip. One of the other cases, though, are all mob-related. One of them I'm very familiar with, being born and raised here. Mr. Coulthard. Now, I grew up by the Coulthard family, so I say this with respect to the Coulthard family. Also, I know the Binions, and I grew up with them. The short version of the story is Coulthard, he had a business interest in the land Benny Binion's horseshoe was sitting on. Well, Coulthard tried to get fancy with Benny Binion, and he said, you are going to be evicted, because the horseshoe was leasing the land, renting the land, however you want to describe it, from these investors. They did not own the dirt the hotel sat on. Well, if you're going to play with the big boys, and back then they were pretty damn ruthless, then the ruthlessness is going to come out after you. So one day, and this is a true fact, Mr. Coulthard went to his car and it blew up. Kaboom. And he was gone, and the eviction and the lawsuit all stopped. Now the rumor is a guy from Texas, because that's where Benny Binion's from, came out to Vegas, flew in for the day, and attached a bomb to that vehicle and flew out the same day. Now, back in 1970, let alone prior to 2001 and 9/11, what would happen is you could book a plane ticket, and the plane ticket didn't even have to be in your name, no ID, nothing. It was a whole different world. So that guy flew out here, planted the bomb, left, and the lawsuit ended as well.
Allegedly.
Well, allegedly. We don't know nothing about nobody here. That's what we tell people. Now, also, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, they have a website, and on their website is a whole list of cases, and they post information, pictures, in hopes that someone will come up with some evidence. It's really heartbreaking looking at that, because there's a lot of deceased, a lot of dead people, or victims of sexual assault, which is, obviously very serious crimes. It's very heartbreaking that those people can't get closure, their family members can't get closure, and that people are, left with an unsolved crime. So that's where advances in technology, witnesses come out of the woodwork, confessions come out later, things like that happen, and you get the cold case coming back to life. And as a defense attorney, I don't deal with a whole ton of them, but I do have a couple cases. Actually, I got 2 cases. One's about a 5-year-old sex assault, one's 12 years old. But now that they're charged, the case is no longer cold.
Heating up.
Heating up, that's for sure, especially with sex assault being 10 to life between adults.
The Vegas
LawyerUpLawyers.com. Lawyer Up.